Today we are reviewing surface area. Our I can statements for today: I can use two-dimensional nets to represent three-dimensional solids. I can find surface areas of prisms, pyramids, and cylinders, and I can solve real-life problems. So we're going to start by looking at a rectangular prism. Our formula for finding the surface area of a rectangular prism is over here. The surface area equals 2 times the length times the width, plus 2 times the height times width, plus 2 times the length times the height. Basically what that means is to find each of the sizes of rectangles and multiply them by 2, because on a rectangular prism you have 2 of each size of rectangle. So I have 2 times something, 2 times something, and 2 times something. And it doesn't really matter which one's length and width and height. Okay, so I'm going to start with the ones that are on the side here. So the rectangles that are on the left side and the right side, this one and this one, are both 5 by 4. And since there are 2 of them, we can multiply by 2. 2 times 5 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20, so times 2 would be 40. Then I can find the ones that are on the bottom and the top. So the bottom would be this one, this part, and that is going to be 10 times 4. And because there are 2 of them, the bottom and the top, then that's why I multiply by 2. So 10 times 4 is 40, times 2 is 80. Okay, then I need to find the front and the back side. So let me erase some of my writing here. So for the front and back side, it would be this part. This part right here is going to be 5 because this is 5. So I have 10 times 5, 50, times 2 because there's one in the front and one that in the back that match. So that's going to be 100. Okay, then I need to add all of them together to get my final answer. So 40 plus 80 plus 100 would be 220. And then all of my surface area is going to be inches squared. Let's take a look at a triangular prism. So for our triangular prism, we have 2 triangular bases that are area 1/2 base times height. And then we have 3 rectangular faces, area equals length times width. Our 2 triangles are going to be the same size. The rectangles sometimes are the same size, sometimes aren't. So generally when I do a triangular prism, I start with my triangles. And I look at the triangle and I look for the 2 parts that form the right angle. So here's the triangle. And I find the right angle, which is right here. The numbers that form the right angle on the base are 8 and 3. So I'm going to do 8 times 3 divided by 2. That tells me the area of one triangle. Then I can take it times 2 because I have 2 of them. Okay, so 8 times 3 is 24 divided by 2 is 12. And then times 2 is 24. So 24 is the area for both triangles together. Now I have 3 different rectangles. A lot of times they're different sizes, sometimes they're the same size. So for the rectangles, you have to start by finding the height of the prism. The height of the prism is the distance between the 2 triangles. So on this one, this 7 feet is the height. It's the distance between the 2 triangles. That's going to be part of all 3 rectangles. 7 times something, 7 times something, 7 times something. And to find that second thing that it's getting multiplied by, we have to look at the different sides of the triangle. So the triangle has a side of 8. That would give us this rectangle, the 7 times 8 rectangle. And let's see, that's 56. Then I could do this rectangle in the back right half. That would be a 5 by 7. That would be 35. And then the rectangle on this part, now it looks like this 3 is part of that rectangle, but if you look at the arrow, it's actually pointing to the height of the base. This rectangle is 5 times 7. So it happens to be the same as the one above it. Okay, and then our last step is to add all of those values together. So let's see, 24 plus 56 plus 35 plus another 35 gives me a total of 150 feet squared. Again, area is always in square units, even if it's folded together to look like a solid figure. Okay, let's take a look at our cube. Cube has 6 sides that are all the same. So we find the area of one side and then we multiply times 6. So our side length here is 7. So we can do 7 times 7. That's 49. That's the area of one side. And then we're going to take it times 6 because we don't want to know one side. We want to know what all 6 sides together equals. So when I do 7 times 7 and then I times another 6, I get 294. And then that one is going to be centimeters squared. All right, here are 2 problems to try on your own. Go ahead and pause the video and try these 2 problems. All right, let's check our answers. So for my rectangular prism, 2 times something, 2 times something, 2 times something. I'm looking for the different combinations of sides. So I'm going to start with the bottom and the top. The bottom and the top are 5 times 3. 2 times 5 is 10, times 3 is 30. Okay, now we'll do the right and left side. So the right side is 3 times 6. 2 times 3 is 6, times another 6 is going to be 36. Okay, so I did 5 times 3, and I did 3 times 6. So my last combination that I haven't done yet is 5 and 6. Those are the front and the back side. 2 times 5 is 10, times 6 is 60. All right, so then my last step here would be to add them together. 30 plus 36 plus 60 equals, then I'm going to get 126 meters squared. All right, let's look at this next one. I start with my triangles. Here's one of my triangles. I have to look for the 2 parts that form the right angle. Now, they didn't give me an actual drawing of a right angle, but just looking at it, it looks like these sides 3 and 4 are going to make the right angle. So 3 times 4 divided by 2 would give me the area of just the one triangle that I outlined. And then I can take it times 2 because the one in the back is also going to be the same. 3 times 4 is 12. Divided by 2 is 6. Times 2 is 12. All right, now I'm going to find my 3 rectangles. All right, so for my 3 rectangles, I need to find the height of the prism. That's the distance between the triangles. The height of this prism is 11. Height doesn't have to mean up and down. It means the distance between the 2 bases when we're talking about a height of a prism, 11. 11 is going to be part of all 3 rectangles. The other number getting multiplied is the side length of the triangles. So I have an 11 times 3, and an 11 times 4, and an 11 times 5. So the 11 by 3 rectangles is the long, skinny one right there. That's going to have an area of 33. The 11 by 4 rectangle is the one on the bottom here. It's going to have an area of 44. And then 11 by 5 is the one that's kind of on the top here, slanted. That would have an area of 55. Okay, and then my last step is to add everything together. So 12 plus 33 plus 44 plus 55 equals 144 centimeters squared. Okay, let's try one with this cylinder. So we've got our surface area formula over here. 2 times pi times radius squared, that's the area of the 2 circles. Pi r squared is the area of 1, times 2 because we have 2 of them. Then for our lateral surface area, which is really a rectangle that's been bent around the circle, that has the formula of 2 times pi times radius, that's the circumference, goes all the way around, times the height. That gives us the area for that rectangle. So for this cylinder, we have a radius of 5 and a height of 12. So we're going to do 2 times 3.14 times radius squared means I'm doing the radius twice, times 5 times 5. That's for the 2 circles. So let's go ahead and figure that out. So 2 times 3.14 times 5 times 5. And that gives me 157. Okay, now I'm going to do the second part. It starts off the same, 2 times pi times radius. But instead of doing radius squared, now we're doing radius times height. So I'm going to do, instead of another times 5, I'm going to do times 12. All right, so now I'm going to multiply that. 2 times 3.14. Oops. Let's try that again. 2 times 3.14 times 5 times 12 gives me 376 and 8/10. Okay, and then I need to add those two together. And I get a total of 533 and 8/10. And let's see, that's going to be centimeters squared. Okay. Here are two to try it on your own. Notice for number 4, that says lateral surface area. For that lateral surface area, it's just the second part of your formula. So that's the 2 times pi times radius times height. For this one, you need the whole thing. The first one's surface area. So 2 times pi times radius squared plus 2 times pi times radius times height. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own. Okay, let's check our answers. So I have 8 as my radius. It's the distance from the center of the circle out to the edge. I have 15 as my height. It's the distance between the two circles. So I start by doing 2 times 3.14 times radius squared, so times 8 times 8. And let's see, so 2 times 3.14 times 8 times 8 gives me 401 and 92/100. Then I'm going to do my second part. Starts off the same, 2 times 3.14 times 8. This time it's 2 times pi times radius times height, and my height is 15. Okay, so 2 times 3.14 times 8 times 15 gives me a total of 753.6. Then I'm going to add those two values together. And I get 1,155 and 52/100 centimeters squared. They did not say to round, so I'm not going to round. All right, let's take a look at number 4. So I have 2 times pi times radius times height. So 2 times 3.14 times my radius, which is 4, times my height, which is 10. So 2 times 3.14 times 4 times 10. 251 and 2/10 centimeters squared. Make sure you read those directions carefully to see what you are looking for. Is it surface area or lateral surface area? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some pyramid problems. So for a square pyramid has one square base and it has 4 triangular faces. So our formula here, we have to find the area of the side and square it. And then we have to find the area of the triangle, which is 1/2 the base times height. So 1/2 times the side of the square times the slant height. And then times 4 because there are 4 of them. All right, so we'll start with the square. My square sides are 10 times 10, which is 100. Now let's take a look at the triangles. Because this is a square on the bottom, all 4 triangles are going to be the same. So I have base and height of 10 and 8. I'm going to divide by 2 because it's a triangle. And then I'm going to times by 4. All right, so let's see. 10 times 8 divided by 2 times 4 equals 160. Then my last step is to add my two answers together. So 100 plus 160 gives me a surface area of 260, and then that is going to be inches squared. Let's take a look at a triangular pyramid. So for a triangular pyramid, there's one triangular base, and then there are three triangular faces. So we find the area of the base, 1/2 base times height. And then we do the area of the triangle, 1/2 base times height, which is the slant height, really. And then times 3 because there's 3 of them. So let's start with the one on the bottom. You're looking for the parts that form the right angle. The right angle on the base is right there. So that's 8 and 6.9. So for my base triangle, I'm doing 8 times 6.9 divided by 2. So 8 times 6.9 divided by 2 equals 27.6. That's the area of my base. Okay, now we're going to do the face triangles. There are 3 of them. They are all the same size because this is a regular pyramid. All of the side lengths of the base are the same. 8, 8, 8. So I'm going to erase this part. Triangle on the side here. We've got 10 and 8. So 10 times 8 divided by 2. And then times 3 because there are 3 of them. So that's going to give me a total of 120. Last step is to add those two answers together, and that's going to give me 147.6 inches squared. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try these two on your own. Okay, let's check our answers. So for number 5, this one has a triangular base, so that means it is a triangular pyramid. So we'll start with the base triangle. We have 5 and 2/10 times 6 divided by 2 because it's a triangle. So 5.2 times 6 divided by 2 gives me an area of 15 and 6/10. Then for my face triangles, 6 is the base, 10 is the slant height. So I'm going to do 6 times 10 divided by 2, and then I'm going to times 3. It's going to give me 90. Then I'm going to add those together. I'm going to get a total of 105 and 6/10 feet squared. All right, let's check our answers for number 6. So we'll start with the base. This one, it's a square. The side length is 5. So we do 5 times 5, which is 25. Now we need to do the triangle on the side. There are 4 of them that are all the same. So we do 8 times 5 divided by 2 for 1. And then we do times 4 because there are 4 of them. All right, so let's see. 8 times 5 divided by 2 times 4 is going to give me a total of 80. And then I am going to add everything together. 25 plus 80 is going to give me 105. This one's going to be inches squared. All right, our last type of problem here, we are finding the surface area for composite solids. Let's try number 5 together. So for number 5, we have several different shapes here. We have a square at the bottom. So for the square, the side lengths are 48 times 48. So 48 times 48 gives us 2,304. Now we're going to do the rectangles. The rectangles are here. Because the bottom's a square, all of the rectangles are the same. So do length times width, 18 times 48. And then I'm going to multiply times 4 because there are 4 of them. So 18 times 48 times 4 gives me 3,456. And then for my triangles, here's one. This part, the slant height's 25. This part is 48. So we're going to do 25 times 48. We're going to divide by 2 because it's a triangle. And then we're going to times by 4 because there are 4 of them. So let's go ahead and figure that out. 25 times 48 divided by 2 times 4 gives us 2,400. Then our last step is to add those 3 values together. So we're adding 2,304 plus 3,456 plus our 2,400, and we get 8,160 square centimeters. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try number 6 on your own. Okay, let's check our answer. So I'm going to start with the square again. Now the shape is tipped on this side compared to the last one, but it's the same type of shape. So bottom is a square. I do 3 times 3, which is 9. Then I have rectangles. I have 4 of them around the outside. They are all the same, 3 times 8. So for the rectangles, I'm doing 3 times 8, and then I'm doing times 4 because there are 4 of those squares. So 3 times 8 times 4 gives me a total of 96. And then my triangles, this part is 5, the slant height. This part would be 3 because this part's 3 in the rectangle. So for the triangle, I'm doing 3 times 5 divided by 2 times 4 because there are 4 of them. So let's read 3 times 5 divided by 2 times 4 gives me a total of 30. Last step is to add them together. 9 plus 96 plus 30 gives me a total of 135 inches squared.